Okay, we started recording and we're going live on Facebook. So, welcome everyone to the First Friday Forum. We're really excited today to have our guest, Renee Jadusingh, who is the Executive Director of the CRA, was it Community Redevelopment Agency? I think I got that right. We're okay, live streaming now. So, Renee, we're so happy to have you here today. You're one of our city partners. I love partnering with you. I can always pick up the phone whenever I need something or I have an issue. You're always so available to everyone. And there are a lot of people that are excited about hearing what's going on in the CRA today. So let me just tell you a little bit about Renee. So Renee is an almost Floridian. She moved here when I think you were 3 years old from Connecticut,
You
and you
got
grew up
it.
in Davie, right? Yeah, I've been looking. I've been
Nice.
stalking you. She has an extremely wide-ranging business education. So she has a Bachelor of Business Administration with a concentration in marketing from FIU. She's a lawyer. She has a Juris Doctor from St. Thomas University in Miami. And you must tell me what an LLM in intercultural human rights is. That's another degree that she has, which is fantastic. So she's got such a great background to do the job that she has. She also worked in Southeast Overtown in the Park West Community Redevelopment Agency in Miami before she took the assistant director position in the Delray Beach CRA. And we're very lucky that she's been promoted to the executive director position and has been running the CRA for how many years now?
Well, since 2019.
Since 2019. So
Almost
quite some
going on
time. So
5
you're a
years.
fixture
Yeah.
in Delray Beach. So first of all, tell me what an LLM is.
So it's a master's in intercultural human rights, a master's for lawyers.
That's
So kind of like
amazing. So
MBA, but LLM. Yeah.
I don't know how you've time to get a bachelor's degree, Juris Doctor, and LLM, but you're highly qualified for the job that you do. So we're excited to have you today, and we want to hear a little bit what's going on with the CRA, and you've just started your new fiscal year, and what can we expect? So I'll hand it over to you, Renee.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Chamber. Thank you to those who took the time this morning to join us. So I wanted to start actually with a little basics about CRA. I know a lot of people think CRAs can do everything, but we can't. We're kind of like a piece in the puzzle. There's a lot of components, I think, that help a city run, and a CRA is one of those. So I just wanted to start to take a little bit of time to explain a background about CRAs, and then what our CRA does, and get into our fiscal year. So community redevelopment agencies are governed by Florida Statute Chapter 163, Part 3. So this statute was, I think, kicked off around the 60s to help coastal towns, help areas eliminate what's called slum and blight. That's used a lot in the statute. But it's basically areas that were a drain on the tax base. So that means they required more, maybe police, fire, needed to be cleaned a little bit more than other areas. They just need a little bit more investment. So the state statute allowed cities and counties to create CRAs as a mechanism to reinvest a portion of the taxes, the property taxes that come into an area, that get invested back in. So say, for example, you pay your property taxes here, right here at Swinton. This is where we are. But the city or county may be able to use those taxes, say, on military, or if it's the county, they may take that up to Jupiter or Belle Glade. But when you have a CRA, a portion of those funds gets reinvested back into a designated area. So you'll see on the map here our boundaries, very specific area. That's where the funds are reinvested in. And we cannot spend money outside of our boundaries. That's a big thing with CRAs, is that we want to help increase the tax base in our particular area. So our CRA in Delray was created in 1985. And we're governed by the mayor and the city commission. There are different governance of CRAs. It can be independent board. It could be the city or the city commission as CRA board members. They're not acting as city commissioners because we are a completely separate agency from the city. Or you can have a hybrid, which is what we had. I think we've kind of gone through every single one at this point, but you can have your city commission mayor plus independent members. So in the whole state of Florida, there are about 220 approximately CRAs. I'd say probably 90% of them have the city commission or county in some cases as their governing body, as the ones who are making the decisions for the CRA. So it is a very common form to have that type of a setup. You can also have different ways to have your staffing. So some CRAs are a department of the city or the county. They're not a separate agency like our CRA in Delray. I think we have such a large budget. Thankfully, we've been able to grow our CRA over the years since 1985. Well, before I got here, I always like to, say thank you and, kind of give a shout out to everyone who's come before to bring us to where we are, to make Delray successful. If you go to Tallahassee or different CRAs and you say you're from Delray Beach CRA, almost immediately they tell you, wow, you're the model CRA, because we were able to be so successful in building up our downtown to build an area that can help spur taxes and spread those funds around to different areas in our district. So next thing we want to talk about is where does the money come from? As I mentioned, it's a portion of taxes. CRAs do not have a special tax. There's no increased tax because you're in a CRA district. It is a portion of the taxes that are already coming into the area. So in our CRA, we collect and receive 95% of those taxes. The city retains 5% for administrative purposes. And that 95% number can vary, can be 50, it can be 60, it just really depends. But when we were created in 1985, that was our number, and it's set unless all parties involved, city, county, CRA would agree. I doubt that would be there'd be a change to that, but currently that is where we are with the 95%. And every CRA is governed by a redevelopment plan, and that is by state statute. You must have a redevelopment plan that identifies how you'll spend your funds. It doesn't have to be really specific. It can be general to broader concepts, or it can be specific. Right now in our CRA, we have kind of a hybrid. We have these overall needs you'll see listed on the screen of removal of slum and blight, land use, economic development, affordable housing, downtown housing, infrastructure, and recreational and cultural facilities. So from that is where we get all of the ideas, we spur conversation about what projects that we want to do. And then our plan also lists some pretty specific projects that have been completed and ones that we have on the horizon. But our plan has not been updated since about 2014, 15. So we're going through a process right now to update our redevelopment plan. It's usually good practice to update your plan every 5 to 7 years to make sure it's fresh, or even just take a look at it to see and make sure that things are still relevant. So we are going through a plan amendment process right now to kind of remove some of those older projects that are completed and put them into an appendix and start looking at maybe some broader concepts for plans for what we have going forward. So our CRA is able to be in existence for 60 years total. So we started in 1985. So our end time at this point is 2045. So I've been talking about this a lot. I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's about 20 years that we have left in our CRA. We're in our last third of our existence, but that time goes really, really fast. And you'll see we have some pretty huge projects on the horizon. So I've started to put that out into everyone's minds, because at some point we won't have our CRA here, and what happens next, and to make sure that we're being realistic in what we're looking at for our projects that we're going forward through the end of our term in 2024. So this slide just goes through again the taxes. It's really important to reiterate that it's not a tax. I hear that a lot, that you're taking taxes, we're an extra tax. We do not have that extra tax. And I'll dig into a little bit about that, what we receive. So for 1985, when the taxes were collected in that year, that number was basically frozen in time. And every year after 1985, we calculate, that's the calculation of how we receive our funds. We get the amount that's over that 1985 base number. Okay, and I like this part of the statute. I think it's really important to highlight broadly community redevelopment. The definitions in the statute, I think, are great. That's a great source of background of why CRAs are the way they are and what CRAs are doing. So I just wanted to take a moment to read through. This is just as a big picture, community redevelopment as defined by the statute and kind of what we're charged to do. So the statute says the community redevelopment or redevelopment means undertakings, activities, or projects of the city, municipality, or community redevelopment agency in a community redevelopment area for the elimination and prevention of the development or spread of slum and blight, or for the provision of affordable housing, whether for sale or for rent, to residents of low or moderate income, including elderly, and may include slum clearance and development of community redevelopment area, rehabilitation or conservation in the redevelopment area, and discusses more about what's in the statute. So I think this section of statute to me is very important, because one of the major parts of what community redevelopment agencies can do is affordable housing, supporting low, moderate, and senior housing, and however that looks is up to the agency. But I think it's important to note this. Another thing in the statute that is actually specifically called out later on, as you'll see, is infrastructure, community policing innovations. That's another big one. So really our focal points, are these things. CRAs are not a social agency. And while it's wonderful, and we, in the past, I think that CRAs were kind of focusing on different types of things. 2019, there was a change to the statute that eliminated some of those ancillary or interpretations that people had of the statute, to kind of slim it back a little bit to get to the focus of what they'll call brick and mortar of the building, of getting information out about what CRAs can do, what our CRAs are doing, not so much into the social area. Economic development is also a big thing that I think CRAs get lumped in a lot. But if you look in the statute, it actually doesn't talk about economic development, but what we do affects the economy of our local economies. I think that's how we kind of tie in some of these economic development initiatives. But when you look at the heart of what the statute talks about, it really talks about community policing. It talks about housing. It talks about infrastructure. It talks about buying and selling property. That's another big one that CRAs can do, is acquisition of land, almost acting like a developer in helping to generate more taxes into the area. Because I think at a base, the purpose with CRAs is to help increase the tax base. That's why CRAs were created, was to help increase the tax base. And that can look a lot of different ways. People's approaches can also be very, very different. Some CRAs may just kind of have a single purpose. There's some CRAs that only pay debt. There was debt taken out to build some structure, a parking garage, or some public facility to help the area, but that's all they do now is pay debt. Some CRAs only do infrastructure, not housing. Some CRAs may only do housing, not infrastructure. But you'll see in Delray, we do all of it, and then some, because I think just, again, the people that kind of made our CRA and created our CRA took all these great things that CRAs can do and pushed and put it into this area, and you're seeing the results now. And so here's our sub area. So a lot of funds have been invested in downtown. We did a project on Federal Highway that we're actually still paying debt for, to help with the beautification and improvements there. And a big focus of what we're looking at now is, you'll see in sub areas 3, 4, and 8. That's the set Northwest, Southwest, West Atlantic neighborhoods. That's where a lot of our investment is going in the coming years, to help generate that area and to help build it up. But we also want to take in mind to consideration the residents, because a lot of these changes impact the people who are living there. I think that the area is very special because you have a commercial core with single family homes right behind it. I mean, like a block away, you could be, if there's buildings all in our West Atlantic, you could just look out your window and see a single family home. So I think it's a very special opportunity for us, that we have to be sensitive to how we're building, what we're building, and where, to make sure that we are, considering the residents' needs and desires, to make sure that their people are included in the development. So this just is an illustration of all of our sub areas. Our total acreage is just under 2,000 acres, so we're not a huge area. I believe we're about 20% of the city. Some CRAs are much more, 50%, 70%, much larger. I think we kind of hit a sweet spot being at our 20% of the city, mostly really in the downtown area, to help build it up. And that's really the money generator is east. It's really east by the beach. So it's very intentional of how our district was drawn here. All right, so now I'm just going to jump right into our projects, that what we're looking at doing for this fiscal year. So our budget cycle runs from October 1st to September 30th, same as the city, is our fiscal year. And every year we budget annually. That's also by statute, that we need to have a budget annually and audit it every year. So that's a big thing that thankfully We've had no issues with our audit. We're, running a really, really tight, clean operation here. It's really exciting to see that. But every year we do have this budgeting process. So we prepare our budget for the fiscal year and also our work plan. And it gives like a high level of some of the bigger projects that we're working on for the year. So what I'm going to do now is just take a few minutes to walk through the different projects that we have for the fiscal year. This document right here on the screen is a highlight sheet of what are the kind of the bigger bullet point items in our budget. And I'll just break down some of these, but this sheet is great. It's just like a quick reference of what projects we have for the fiscal year. So first, I think this is the big biggie, is Pompey Park. This project has been in the works for a really long time. I'm really happy to report that we've budgeted $40 million for this project, and the cost estimates are about $44 million. It is about to bid at this point, so we're hoping that our cost estimates or the actual costs come in lower than the estimates, but we were able to budget $40 million this year. When we started this project, the cost estimates were about 25 million. That was pre-COVID, but as everyone knows, construction got really expensive. Everything got really expensive. So the cost estimates are coming in substantially higher than what they were before. But obviously the project is going. It's been going. So on our end, the board, city commission, we just kind of decided we have to figure out how to fund this to keep it going forward, because it's such a transformational project that is happening. So this is an illustration, just like a high level of what the project will look like. There's new parking, new pool, the community centers will be new, the baseball courts are going to be redone, and there you'll see in the middle here, there's this grassy field area that people kind of like a flex space that people can use. So it's going to be an amazing project. It is a very large cost, but will definitely be worth it in the end when we have this beautiful park to be used by the neighbors and really the citywide and then some. So next is the Osceola Park infrastructure improvement. So we started working on this is before my time, but there was a initiative with the city commission and our board, an agreement to do what's called like a complete neighborhood improvement. So it's where you go into a neighborhood, instead of just redoing a street or redoing sewer or adding sidewalks, you do the complete top to bottom neighborhood. You look at the sewer system, you look at every single street, you look at the sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, safety initiatives, and you just kind of go through and redo the entire area. So at the time, the order was to work on Osceola Park first, then the Northwest neighborhood, then the Southwest neighborhood. So I wanted to give a little setup for this one, because while you'll see one street here, Southwest first, the CRA and the city have actually gone through and done improvements in the entire Osceola Park neighborhood. And that started, the construction actually kicked off in 2020. I remember the designs when I started, the designs were in the works. There were neighborhood meetings. I remember going to SOC and meeting with some of the residents to kind of fine tune what the neighborhoods wanted to look like and what the input from the community members, and then came up with a project. So we went out to bid, and then here comes COVID. I remember like the day before we were going to close the office. I tell this story all the time because I think it illustrates how important it was for us, the city and the CRA. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were like, wow, are we coming back or are we not? I remember sitting in the office with our staff here, our finance, and we're like, okay, we just got a bill for like $6 million. We're going to cut the check. And we don't know where the check was going. We didn't know if it was going to happen, but we just wanted to say, we're not coming back, that at least, and the bank's closed and everything's gone. We at least started the project and we sent the money to the city. And thankfully we did, because they were able to start the project. Everyone's office closed. The whole world went upside down, but Osceola Park still kept going. So that was phase one, got through that, then got through phase two. I think in total we're about $11 million in costs for this project. And I think that just also shows how the costs have increased, because those were pretty much pre-COVID numbers. It went out to bid pre-COVID, and then phase two was during COVID, but that project came in at 11 million just about. And then you'll see another infrastructure project that I'll talk about in a minute that is not 11 million, it's substantially more, but I think it just shows what's happened with the construction industry. So this street is just an add-on to the Osceola Park neighborhood project, but the other phases are already complete for Osceola Park and just doing some closeout now. And then this street will go into construction in this fiscal year to finish the project. So this is a biggie. So I mentioned the order, the sequencing of the three neighborhoods that we were working on. Here we have the Northwest neighborhood. This was priority number 2, was to do a complete neighborhood improvement for the Northwest neighborhood. So this also has been in the works, in design for a couple of years now. I think the city probably will be looking to bid in the next year or so. Much of this is a larger area than Osceola Park. So we've been paying for design services, but this coming fiscal year, the city is requested funds to try and bring a federal grant writer on board because the cost of this project is about 60 million. So it is a huge project. I think before COVID it was a lesser amount, but just if you look at all the purple, those are all the streets that'll be improved. The green are the alleyways that'll be improved, and it's a large area. So this will be done in 3 phases. The website is up there, nwneighborhoodproject.com. Really great resource. It has all of the presentations from the community meetings. It has the schedule. It has the design team, all the contacts, everything you'd want to know about the project is right here. We also did this for Osceola Park, and I think it was with the city. It was a huge help because if anyone had any questions and maybe wasn't too in depth, we can refer them to the website and they can get all the information right there. So Northwest neighborhood is coming up, and we're hoping that we can get federal dollars to maybe help pay for half of this, fingers crossed. So it'll be less funds that'll be coming from the CRA. We are funding this project also. If not, then we'll have to look at potentially taking out debt. Some people have to do with the city to be able to do this. And we have done it before. We're, like I mentioned, paying a debt service for federal highway improvement. So it would be a similar process, but we're right in that phase now where we're designing, figuring out funding, but we're hoping that we can get federal dollars to do it. I think that would be, it's a good project for it. So we're hoping that we'll be successful in getting outside dollars to help us with this project. Just a note for Pompeii, that was all cash over the last, I think like 4 years or so. Every year we've been putting more money into that pot to get up to that 40. Well, at first it was, like I said, it was 20, then it became 30. Now it's at 45. So we have been putting aside funds over the last 4 years to be able to get to where we are today. And I think that was a good strategy to use because now we don't really have to worry about it. We don't have to think about it. The project isn't even starting construction yet, but it's pretty much already funded. And now we can look to the next project a couple years out. So just kind of trying to do some good planning to make sure that these projects are timed appropriately. So when the construction is complete, we're ready to go with the money. We don't have to wait. It can start right as the project is ready to go out to bid. So here is a project in the Southwest neighborhood. So this is an older project. I believe this one was from maybe 2015 or so. There were 5 alleys in the Southwest neighborhood that when we were doing, like I mentioned, doing an alley or a street individually, not doing this complete neighborhood approach, these alleys were already in the works. So there were 5 that were slated to be redone. 2 of them were already completed, but there were 3 that had a little more work that needed to be done with the utility relocations. Sometimes these alleys have a lot going on. There may be trees, shrubs, there's light poles, and some of them are placed not in the correct area. They're in the city right away. They're not where they should be to build an alley. And with the current setbacks for alleys, some of these just didn't work. So this particular situation with these 3 alleys took a lot more time to be able to get all the relocations complete. So now all of that is finished. It's going through a design process, and this will be done this fiscal year to complete these 3 alleys. But for the Southwest neighborhood, that was the 3rd priority that I mentioned. This Southwest neighborhood will get the same overhaul like Osceola Park and like the Northwest neighborhood, but Southwest neighborhood is substantially bigger than the other 2. I think that the sequencing I could guess is that Osceola was smallest, then Northwest mid-size, and then the Southwest is larger. So this will be a large project, but this is why I like to start talking about how much time we have left, how much money we could potentially be slated to receive over these years, because I mentioned a $40 million project. I mentioned about a $60 million project. Who knows where Southwest will be in about 5 years when we're ready for it. So I just like to keep throwing that out there that, we have a lot going on, but we also have these large infrastructure projects that should be and are a priority to make sure that they happen, because these will impact the most residents. Our grant programs, all these things are great, but these infrastructure projects will drastically improve the lives of so many people with one project. So just something to keep in mind. And here's another one that we've been kicking around and talking about for a while. It's the wayfinding process. So this is another one for some years now. We've been looking at trying to improve the current wayfinding signage. That's those the red kind of signs with the yellow and has the directional telling you to go to different places. So a few years ago, the CRA worked with a consultant in the city and some of our community partners to redo these signs. So we went through design process. We had some outreach, public meetings. We had these at our board meeting several times to get to a design. So this is what they currently look like. And if you remember, I mentioned at the beginning, we can only spend funds in our district, not outside. So these signs, some of them are outside the CRA. So there was some discussion with the city about how to kind of coincide to make sure that when this project is going forward, that the city, has funding and, is able to redo the signs on the city right away. Because that's just a good example is on George Bush. If you go down George Bush to the beach, there's a directional sign right there that when you're going left or right, that's outside the CRA district. But you go down and all that whole beach side, the east side of the beach is all outside the CRA district. So any sign on that little area would not be done by the CRA. But then you go just a little bit west, if you go over to Atlantic and you go just west of the beach, you'll see a new sign. But then across the street, you'll see an old sign. So we were trying to make sure that situation didn't happen. So I think that's the discussion, is that all the signs will be completed in the CRA and outside the CRA in a phased process. So to make sure that it's a consistent look throughout the city. But here's what the signs are. This Welcome to Delray Beach sign. I think we were looking at something, the signs between the Federals going into Boynton on the north side. There's that big sign when you're going from Boynton into Delray at the split. So this sign is some of the larger monument sign that would go there. And I think there's another place where the sign would be going as well. Right. Okay. So next is the Curry Commons restroom. This is one that the park's actually also in Osceola Park. It's another little add-on. There was an initiative with the parks to improve some of the bathrooms that are in the park area. So this one happened to be in Osceola Park. And since we were doing that overhaul in Osceola Park, we included this into the project as an enhancement. Another note, I think, with CRAs is that we are not doing general maintenance for the city. Our focus is really enhancement. So say a city was going to put like a regular Cobra light on a street, CRAs would come in and put the decorative LED. Like ours would be that enhanced. You'd get that bump. Not to do what city is already supposed to do. We're not supplanting or doing what the city is responsible for. Ours is really like that enhancement. It's the baseline, and then we just do above. So this bathroom will be nice. It'll be a bump up from the bathrooms there, but it was in Osceola, so we just added it in to the project. So here, so I'm sure everyone's aware of the Arts Warehouse facility. This was an investment into the Arts Alley area to help bring up the neighborhood and make it look better, help invest and spur business in the area. So the Arts Warehouse facility was kind of like the kickoff into that. Shortly after we completed renovating Arts Warehouse, we renovated Third. So you'll see now there's like the flat sidewalk, a little bit of a different look. It's the central business area, but we kind of looked at it being, since it's artistic, it's a little bit special. It's off of the downtown area. We did a different type of sidewalk to give it a little character in the neighborhood. But their alley used to be in that project, but it was removed because the cost was really substantial of what we were looking at doing. But there still needed to be improvements to the alley. So the street was completed a year or so ago, and now we're looking at doing over the alleyway by the Artist Alley. And you'll already see the results, because when we did the third street, there's building now that are being built there. Previously, the water main, all the public facilities there couldn't sustain those larger buildings, or the private sector would have been asked to do some of those improvements. But our project was already slated to do some of those. So now you're seeing these big buildings that can be built because the public infrastructure, the water mains, all of that were improved to allow for taller buildings there, whereas it couldn't be done before. Okay, so now we'll get into some of our just redevelopment for CRA, not so much projects. This is just concepts and ideas for lands that we have. So this is the Northwest 800 block. We had discussed potentially putting the container village or park area here. We put aside $7 million this year to start that project. We went through a design process, and I think it was pretty well received for this project. But the cost estimates were about just over $6 million, and we put aside $7 million. This is another one where we've been incrementally putting funds aside, so we were able to put aside $7 million this year. And the idea here is not that it will be there forever per se, but maybe like 7 to 10 years. It will be there. You'll see that the ownership pattern here, we don't own all of the properties in this area. We just own what's in the blue. We'd have to get an alley abandoned here, I guess. So if we kind of work here and can get some of this joined, we still don't have some of these pieces over here. So it's a little bit, for us, we were looking at a little difficult to build a building there with this type of a structure, and just like kind of blocking out, this development or potential development for this here. So we thought if we put in a little bit of investment, $7 million, that it could be something that we could have for some years and get it activated, as opposed to just sitting vacant and waiting. Also, this red square was where we were going through a remediation. If you recall, there used to be a black fence around that space for probably 15 plus years, because there was a gas station there, and when we bought it, we cleaned it up. But we were able to have that equipment, everything removed a few years ago, which was a huge accomplishment. We were pushing so hard to get them to at least get that black fence off, because it just didn't look great. But there's still contaminant in the median. So this area right here, there's a well which can't be cleaned, but these two sites were tied together. So we've been working with our consultant, with the state, to try to untie those two. So there's some further testing being done. So once, hopefully, our plan will work, and the state will give us an all clear letter, no further action is what it's called, to be able to do development here. And that'll kind of just free things up for us, really. But right now we still have this here, but we're trying to work on our container project and on some kind of development that we can build and we can move forward, simultaneously working with the state to try to get this remediation resolved. So this is another site, Northwest 600 block. We own some properties here. We're looking at hopefully trying to acquire another piece here, maybe to do some mixed use or housing. This light blue square is where William Hatcher Construction, we have a land lease with him. This was vacant, this old picture, but right now if you drive by, there's a beautiful two-story buildings there. That'll be his office, and he'll have this available for rental space. So, and more about that later, but this is another future development site. We're also looking at a park by Carver Square. This is in the Southwest neighborhood. As you know, we built 20 single family homes with Pulte Homes over the last couple of years, but there's a park just right across the street from Carver Square that could use a little bit of enhancement. So we'll be working with Parks and Rec this fiscal year to improve this park. So that area really will be complete new homes. There was also an infrastructure project to improve the streets around Carver Square, and then plus it'll have a new park. So it's going to have a really great new look in that area very soon. We just kicked off our one of our commercial development projects. This is something the CRA is doing, 95 Southwest 5th Avenue. It's under construction right now. 2-story building right on 5th here. And we don't have plans for it yet. We're starting the construction, and probably in the summertime, we'll look at tenants and potential tenants. I have been hearing there's potential talk about medical, maybe, because it looks kind of like a medical building, because it is one of the needs that was identified for the area. But like I said, we'll see. We haven't started it yet, but we've just started building the shell. and 98 Northwest Fifth Avenue. This is a huge accomplishment. We purchased this building. It was apartments on the top floor, second floor, top floor. First floor was parking, underground or underneath building parking. But you'll see here, we completely renovated this building into a commercial space. The picture on your screen is of the inside of a co-working space on the second floor that we have, and we're currently working to get an operator here to run this facility for us. And then the ground floor has 5 tenant bays that we're working with tenants. We put out a call and got maybe about 14 or 15 good tenants or good potential. Some of them are local. We really tried to make it a kind of grassroots outreach to try to find tenants and really people who are looking, maybe have a mom and pop or smaller shop that they want to grow into and hopefully grow into something else. It's kind of like a intermediary step into getting into another larger space. So we hope this will be a successful initiative. But the idea is for us to have affordable office space, not just affordable housing, but also office, because people need places to work. So the rents here are for the ground floor are under $1,000. The front bay is a little bit more because it's facing Fifth, but all the others are under 1,000. So extremely, extremely reasonable, because we're not here to make dollars and make investment. We're trying to build the area. So that this is one of the ways that we're trying to do that. And also we have our curb appeal program. This is our residential improvement where we have funds for helping families with the exterior improvements on their home. This is run through the City Neighborhood Services Department. They do have other programs to help improve homes. So we have them all running together. So in case somebody wants to do interior improvements, the city has a program for that. And then we have the exterior, so there's no overlap. And this is a QR code that you can go and view our entire fiscal year budget and work plan. But this presentation was just kind of like high points. And I'll just run through a couple little updates about events and things we have coming up. So this map is on our website. It's the GIS map. This is a picture of it. But last year we went through a process of working on a GIS map because we got a lot of questions about what properties we own. But we created this map so that you can actually go through and see different layers of what we own, what city owns, what's vacant, what's not. So it's all there, really user friendly. Instead of us kind of sitting through and working through paper and addresses and static maps, we have this map that you can select yourself of what you're looking for. Also, another way of outreach, our website a few years ago, we started a CRA stories page. So it's kind of like a press release in a sense, but it's a moving, living blog where we have different stories about projects that we're doing. And now I think we have probably a 5-year chronology and history of things that we've done. So if you want to learn more about us, see some of our projects, we even focused on some of our staff members so you can learn more even about just us individually and who we are. That opportunity is there for you. Upcoming board meetings through February of next year are listed here. Our next meeting is on November 16th. Our meetings now are at City Hall. We used to be at Arts Warehouse, but we've moved back to City Hall a couple of months ago. And a few things we have coming up. Crafted on the Ave. This is our outreach. We're trying to give opportunities for businesses to, go and sell their products. The next 2 events are listed here. Next one is this Saturday and then December 2nd. We also have the Warehouse Market. It's November 18th at Arts Warehouse. And we started doing a CRA socials a few months ago. This is an opportunity to come and meet us, talk to us about projects. The next one is taking place on December 4th from 5 to 7. And this will be a CRA 101, kind of like we had in the beginning. What's a CRA? What do we do? Walk through the statute. We're going to do that in addition to talking about our project. But a big focus point is going to be clarifying and helping people understand, like, what exactly is a CRA? And very excited to announce more to come about this, but Hatchet Ribbon Cutting, it will be on December 6th from about 11 to 1. We're still working on the time. We're working with the Chamber and the DDA because this is, I think, the last major development to happen in the West Atlantic was the Fairfield Inn. And Hatcher it's a huge accomplishment to have somebody local who is from here, lives here, actually having this property and opening a building right off Atlantic Avenue for his own office. And we recently went to the Florida Redevelopment Association. This is an organization that helps CRAs as a facility, a resource for us. We won an award for our annual report. So yay, CRA. Just wanted to announce that. It was really cool to get an award. We've been working really hard at the annual report to get information out there. It's a great marketing tool for us, so we were thankful to be recognized for it. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Well done. So it's so funny. I wrote down 3 questions I wanted to ask you, and one was about the container project because that's my favorite one. When you're sunsetting and the awards that you've won recently, and you answered all of those for me. Of course you did. I knew that you would.
Thank you.
But I just
Yes,
wanted to
get it
point
all.
out that I know you always get it. I should have known that you would. But one thing I wanted to point out is when you talk about CRAs and plans, these are always really, really long-term projects, and a lot of presentations are about the longer term projects. But I'm so glad that you mentioned the things that you've accomplished really quickly, like the houses at Carver. Those 20 houses went up amazingly fast, and they're absolutely
A
beautiful. I
year.
remember the groundbreaking, and then you were doing the ribbon cutting on it immediately in 98 Northwest 5th. That co-working space is going to be absolutely amazing when you get it up and running. And the Hatcher building, I remember going to the groundbreaking there. The ribbon cutting is going to be in a month or so. So these projects have moved really quickly. And if if any of you haven't seen some of the areas that she's talking about, just take a drive down West Atlantic up and, through Northwest and Southwest 5th and see some of the places. They're fantastic. And of course, on top of that, you operate the programs such as the where Arts Warehouse Market and Crafted on the app and the Green Market as well. So we have an award-winning, very famous CRA in the state of Florida, and we're very lucky to have it. So well done. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Well, it's really everyone together. I think, like I said, it's all of us together have brought us to where we are now, and we just want to keep that momentum going forward.
You've done
So
a
does
great
anyone
job.
have any questions for Renee?
Renee's done a great job, especially you got to consider she's got 7 politicians as bosses, so that's always tough.
5 now, 5.
Only
Five.
5 at the moment.
We went down to 5. Okay, that's bad enough. Renee, what's ever going to happen to the south side of West Atlantic? We had all those projects. Last I heard, one was in litigation. Did that get settled?
No, not settled yet, or not resolved yet. So won't get too much into that, but I still talk about future plans for the area. So in November, December of last year, we hired a consultant to help us start looking at the properties in West Atlantic and what we can do with them. So at our last CRA social, we actually had some illustrations that he drew. We just tasked them with, look at the LDRs, look at what can be done, take into consideration the plans, the comp plan, and just start coming up with ideas. Nothing is set in stone. It's not like it's a have to, but we're starting to look at the area, not just those blocks, but all the properties that we own on West Atlantic that you saw in that map, to see what the future for that area will be. And last month, actually, there was a joint workshop with the City Commission and the CRA board, where we went through and we were looking at and deciding what we would want to see big picture in the area. There was talk about the police station that came up, and the commission was supportive of just looking at the whole area, including the city properties, to see what it could look like, because we wanted to be as one, not that we have different projects going. So we're looking at that right now.
That's great. You should also remind yourselves of what happened in the failed projects and why they failed. We don't want to repeat what's happened in the past years. Any other questions for Renee?
Yeah, I think she's got that covered.
All
Does
right.
anyone else have any questions for Renee?
Stephanie, why don't we go to Chief Tommy when he's here?
Yeah, we want to hear about the groundbreaking for the new fire department. So thank you again, Renee. It was fabulous.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Come again.
Yes,
she comes every month. Anyway, Chief, tell us about the groundbreaking.
Yes, so we had a groundbreaking for Fire Station 113, which is on Linton Boulevard on Tuesday. This station is going to be a huge improvement to what was there before. It's going to be double the size. It's going to be a 2-story building. It's going to have 3 drive-through bays. It's going to be the most modern fire station we have in all of our stations and all of our facilities. And we're super excited about it. As you guys know, it's been a long time. We've been planning this station since I got here in 2016. And so now it's finally going to happen. And they've done a lot of the groundwork already. So now we should start seeing some things go vertical, and we'll start seeing some progress happening real soon.
That's exciting, and that's going to be rated for a Category 5 hurricane. Will that be the Emergency Operations Center, or do we know?
No,
do we have one
at
yet?
one time it was planned to have a third story, which would have been the EOC.
Mhm.
But that got scrapped. Different city managers, different ideas came through, and so our plan now for the EOC is going to be when we rebuild Station 115 out on Germantown Road. But that station, you're right, is going to be a Category 5, which is important because we can house extra people there, extra units there, and we don't have to relocate them in a storm.
Great. That's exciting for that one.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Let's go to Mary Wozni from City Sustainability.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Not too many updates this time. Our green building ordinance did go into effect on November 1st, so just reminding everyone of that. Our green board at our last monthly meeting discussed an education campaign about for businesses to make them aware of alternatives for single-use plastics. So we'll be working on that and reaching out to the chamber to educate businesses on that, especially along the avenue. We also have a tree giveaway coming up December 16th at the Delray Beach Historical Society. And I'll remind you of that next month also. And again, we're also working on our climate action plan and greenhouse gas reduction still. So that's about it for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions about sustainability? Okay, Jackie Ramirez, are you still here with us?
I am. Good
Tell us about small
morning.
business.
Well, what I wanted to do is ask everyone to kind of keep their eyes open because there's going to be some announcements to a renaming of our government contracting services. We're working closely with the federal government, and what we're attempting to do, or we will be doing, is reduce some of the complication within contracting with the federal government, getting access to those funds and those a place to actually put your product and your services, and so that we get more small businesses involved. As a small business, when you go to apply for the federal government, it can be pretty complicated. Well, that's been addressed, and you'll see the new name coming out called Apex, and you'll see new steps where you can take working with us to get be able to take advantage of that sort of revenue flow. Okay, other than that, follow us on social media. If you need assistance, please remember it's at no charge, and just go to sbdc.fau.edu. Okay, have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Jackie. If you haven't stopped by to talk to Jackie and you're a small business person, she's a big help. She's got a lot of resources.
Thank you.
We have on the line Willie Poos from Solid Waste. You want to give us any report, Willie?
Sure. Thank you very much. This weekend, we have the Celebrate America Recycles Day with the SWA event. It is Sunday from 9 to 1. And it's exciting because it's an open house of the waste to energy facility and the recycling facility. So you can really see how recycling is done and the amount of trash that county residents generate. So it's going to be on site here in West Palm Beach, and it's just an open house. And one other thing I'd like to share is that the Palm Beach County did reach 80% recycling as calculated by the Department of Environmental Protection. And we are the #1 county in the state for recycling percentage. We're very proud of that.
That's awesome. I think the event sounds really cool. I love stuff like that. It's neat.
You'll definitely get the sights and sounds of waste management. So we hope you come out and enjoy it.
Yes, I want to talk to you about that for Leadership Delray field trip sometime too, but I'll talk to you about that offline.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we have a couple of minutes left, but Michael Corbett's on the line. Michael, do you want to give us a little report?
I do. We're still at 3.3% unemployment. The county has gained about 11,500 jobs year over year. Employment in Palm Beach County, about 736,000 people work in this county, so roughly half of the population. Education and health services is up about 5,000 jobs. Leisure and hospitality up 3,000. Obviously, this is hiring season for the hotels, restaurants, all the entertainment venues. Trade, transportation, utilities up 2,000, and government up across the county about 2,000. So a very diverse economy here in Palm Beach County. All the sectors are hiring. Things are good in our community. I don't know if anybody saw Jerry Parrish at the BDB luncheon a couple of weeks ago. Jerry used to be the chief economist at Florida Chamber Foundation. He now is doing a project in Atlanta, and he says Palm Beach County is the envy of every county across the country, if you can believe that. So things are working in Palm Beach County. I thought I would share that. Thanks for your time. And Renee, you and your team are doing a great job. Thanks for the update.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions or no? Stephanie, we have 2 minutes left, 3 minutes left. You want to give your report?
Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it?
I see somebody going around and around in circles.
I know, it's my computer, sorry. One second.
It's a computer.
Here we go. Sorry, well, November is our biggest fundraiser of the year, which I'm really excited about. It's our We Are Delray event. It's on November 16th. And it's at Throw Social, and we're really excited about it. So get your tickets now for it. There are going to be lots of activities and interesting things going on inside the event that you'll love it. And it's also our Business of the Year Awards. So we'll be announcing the Business of the Year, Business Person of the Year, Nonprofit of the Year, and the Crystal Palm Award for Community Service. We also have a huge amount of grand openings this month, which is so exciting. Next Tuesday, we have 2. In the morning, it's Pop Stroke, and their ribbon cutting is going to be at 9 a.m. So that might be a fun one to check out. And then we also have the same day, Express Pros ribbon cutting as well. Verena Delray is a senior living place. The ambassadors went there yesterday for lunch. They do a great job, and their food is fantastic. So their ribbon cutting is on November 9th. Concierge Rehab is on November 15th, and Spa Me Now is going to have a ribbon cutting on the 21st. So that sounds great timing for that one. And we had a great one at Peaceful Body Spa last night. So this is the month of ribbon cuttings for the chamber. But we definitely want you to join us at the We Are Delray event on November 16th. And we're looking forward to seeing you then. And for next month, just so you know what's coming up, we're going to round out the year with Rick Sartori of the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, and he's going to be talking about Homeland Security. So I think that'll be a very interesting presentation. So we're looking forward to seeing you then, if not before. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend and good Thanksgiving to all.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's
Bye-bye.
right. See you next month. Bye.